Hello, my name is Micaiah Stevens. Welcome to Hamlet Development Log number 27. This is kind of long overdue. Should have been out a few days ago, but got a little delayed, partly because of the cat, so she's in the background. Hopefully she's not as loud as she seems in real life. Anyway, so we do a little caveats always time. It's in development, not promised, coming soon. Also added a new one, complete overhaul. New one, version 3, kind of a newer. Talked about bugs ahead. And then we're talking about content will not come out as shown. So stuff we talked about may not come out, but this definitely. I know a lot of people say that. Like Imperator Rome was a really great example of like the UI was just really crappy, and it was like, oh no, it's early access, and it's like no, that's how the UI came out. Versus like Crusader King, same company, really amazing UI. And a couple other games are like that. Just it's but for me, it's like we're really kind of super early. So we do have a game demo. So let's get right into that. I kind of like to do these. This is kind of the old. It's the 19.3 version. So yeah, so we this is kind of cleaned up. Yeah, this UI needs this whole. I think there's a lot of like information on this UI. For instance. A lot of this, yeah, this is actually the 18.2, but this is part of a scriptable object that doesn't get changed. So it's kind of, the numbers are kind of internal to me, like what I'm working on. Anyways, so yeah, so we still have no options, and we still, options are coming, I swear. Anyway, so let's get right into the adventure mode. This is kind of the original, some of the graphics as well. You actually can't do grass either in this version. Yeah, that was kind of a bug we were hoping. Yeah, so I'll probably be talking a lot of bugs. But yeah, so this is kind of the roguelike idea. This is kind of the overall from the original idea. Yeah, and the water. Really hope I can get that water back in. We'd actually dip down in the water, and water was actually, going down a little bit. Anyway, so it's kind of the original concept for it's kind of why yeah, this is really bright even for me, is the fact that you're sort of you're playing a roguelike. So and it's going to be a 3D rogue is the goal of the game, and so it's kind of always constantly pushing. Hey, you can push rocks too. Always kind of like the idea of like that's the concept I'm going for, and it's kind of like I've been debating like does the oh yeah, it's the animation system I was working on a while as well. Oh yeah, there must be. So it's kind of like the idea that original roguelikes are straight down. We'll show you that in the camera. I should maybe switch that to perspective camera or orthographic. Anyway, so it's kind of the general idea here is that you're actually wandering around. This is actually the overworld, and we talked about dungeons last time. So let's go up. This is another little thing. I love the cart. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, now it's not so bad. We'll show this on their Discord a little bit later. The other thing too is you can also push trees. So it was it was part of the concept of here. Let's push it off the world. It should fall off the world. So oh whoops! Why did it fall there? Interesting. Anyway, so you can bring a cart around. The carts. I know it's definitely not. It's not quite. It's sort of the idea. That you're dragging the cart around. It's going to help with inventory and stuff. I think, yeah, this one doesn't have inventory. Oh, and you can also change your characters out, so customization. I think we talked a little bit about that eventually. I think it's just hair right now. Anyway, so it's pretty much what I wanted to show in here. I don't think you can pick up items in this version. And part of the trees moving was a really cool algorithm that was doing some really awesome stuff, but it never got in. You can also, I believe you can talk to NPCs in this one. This is kind of, this is Micaiah Stevens in the game, is his name. I kind of maybe should clean this up a little bit, bring it down, have a little cinematic camera or something more. Anyway, so it's like kind of making fun of myself. But, yeah, oh yeah, and here's the items. You can sort of see him on the ground, but I don't think he picks them up because he doesn't interact. It was the old version. It's sort of one of the problems about versioning. And here's the wood pile, which you shouldn't be able to walk over. It's kind of debating, like, should we be able to walk? There's actually one. I think there's one block. Yeah, that's the master block that says that's where the wood pile is. Yeah, I believe it's at the bottom left corner, and then it's over by one. Anyway, so yeah, so it's kind of like what should you be able to walk over is kind of a big. There's a lot of design discussion, unfortunately, right now. Like for me, just like can I should I be able to walk into this block? Is that I know a lot of people are like that's. I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, that's kind of game breaking, but it's kind of like, well, in part of these games, it's sort of it is a little bit of I mean, I eventually probably will make these when I upgrade the buildings. I've been talking a lot about the spacing of the buildings and what they're going to do and stuff like that. So, anyways, that's pretty much. Oh yeah, and our clipping still kind of. But this world's pretty good, but you can't. Well, I mean, it's okay for what it is. There's definitely some like node systems that are still not talking to each other. They should not. If you put a water, I mean, it's river cane. That's it, like Minecraft. But this world's it's pretty good. I don't think I have a frame rate, but I mean it runs okay, and you can move around, and you can actually go pretty far in this world. But it's burning up a lot of resources in terms of the world right now, and it's not really getting a lot of value. I definitely like the water and stuff like that, but it was kind of also because the water was actually inset to the ground, and there's kind of this whole concept of trying to get height out of the world. It's one of the big problems. Anyway, so that's so we'll be talking about that here. But but that loses a lot of like you have a lot of vertexes, a lot of data just to get that to happen. And then and how I was building this world, it wasn't really as conducive to putting a lot of stuff on the screen and trying to decide where they go. And I mean, it's definitely going to be low. Well, these grass blocks are insane, really, because there's fit 25 of these, and they all grow. And I definitely like the concept, but I might have to do it in a different. There's probably a different way to do it in shaders and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so the overall core concept of the game is trying to be adhere to the fact that you're in a roguelike environment. The idea is also that this is ticking, so like it was really awesome when the grass was ticking with the I think there was a version like that where I got the grass to actually grow based on the ticks. So it's like it's like you kind of like it was kind of like a Minecraft thing where you'd be like, come on, do a little twerking to get the grass to grow. But it's and you can also wait as well. So this is I believe ticks are actually happening in this version, but you can sort of wait as well. So sort of it's like you can imagine combat like that, which is like you're here, maybe you're here and the mob's here, but you want the mob to if you come in here, the mob gets a free hit. But if you wait, then the mob will come into you, and then you can attack it. So it's going to be kind of like that same roguelike Moria and Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. Quill does quite a few of those. Anyways, yeah, so that's pretty much yeah, and then some of the grass, a lot of we'll see a lot of new yeah, and then yeah, so but yeah, so there's the game demo. Let's move on to what so yeah, so we talked about a Haven Studios Discord. This definitely there's a link in the description below now. You can leave a comment also as well. And our kind of goal, I thought I was going to bring up the Discord, so I guess we'll bring up that. Hopefully this spoiler alert for, there we go. Anyway, so this is the, talked about, this is kind of I need a new picture. Everybody else has really cool pictures, but anyway, so it's pretty much, like a lot of this stuff down here you won't be able to see. It's just links and stuff. There are some things like if you go into, I think, announce, it's general. There is people like people joining, so I'm gonna move that out. But yeah, so it's just a Discord. So hopefully, anyway, so then we do some release notes as well, so we can talk about. Let's see, whew, yeah. So Oh man, that was almost a year ago. I guess I posted a few 2 or 3 updates since then. Anyways, we're kind of mostly doing about this for the promo. So I was kind of like yeah. So about 4 months ago, 3 months ago now. Let's see, yeah, about 2 months. Anyway, so we pretty much when we picked up the character pack, we got a bunch of tool system. So we've upgraded the so you can pick up the wooden. They're called bronze, but they're kind of more wooden is the system. Let's see, yeah. So oh yeah, we're talking about the tool switching. Oh cool. Um, Oh yeah, yeah. So the concept here is what I'm talking about is that I do want some UI to sort of show your tools, but I don't actually want to put a whole lot of UI into it right now. So I've been talking about this idea. Like a lot of games are like you just have your tool section of equipment, and then which is I've kind of pre-built that a little bit, and then it's like when you go up to smack a tree, you just instantly pull out your axe. And that's sort of kind of what I'm talking about here is that the character needs to acknowledge that they are, because like right now, if he has a pickaxe, he'll walk up and he'll start using the chop animation with the pickaxe. So, anyways, and then this is a little side project. So this is kind of one of those things. This is door smashers, I believe, from Athos. Anyways, it's kind of it's a high level concept for some more like character-based movement, which is I like his really nice animation system. And a lot of this it's kind of I pre-built a lot of this up from what he was working on. So anyway, so then we also so we talked about this the work. Yeah, you could actually before. Oh, I never showed you can pet rabbits and smack um, wolves or slimes. This is kind of a yeah, back in September. This is yeah a little bit early. Anyway, so and then this is also we've upgraded a lot of the monsters. This is kind of the monster level system. This is kind of what there's 5 base monsters in the game now. Some of these like the Mushroom Man and stuff. These are all kind of and then they upgrade based on their tier of difficulty. It doesn't really show that. That's what the I believe that's what the left number. It's a level. It's a level system into a rank system. So like 1 to 5 is basically a green slime. Then it switches at, a blue slime, and then it goes into the I believe the the ghost. Yes, and then the same. So I'm hoping to have all the colors line up. So all the greens. I don't think I have that. Oh yeah. Anyways, all the greens. But all the green. They should all be like greenish, and then they'll go up to like purple and then there's a white texture here for it's going to be a hidden. It's sort of similar to that where it's like or it's actually no there's no it's actually a white ghost. Anyways, there's a crazy material that I'm going to throw in there for the elite super mobs. Yeah, so here is a oh yeah this is really cool. I added a what was I trying to do? Oh yeah, so I'm chopping a tree, and it adds. So here's another physics interaction. I know this is probably a really bad way to showcase some of these things that but and then you also see the chunk system here. That these are actually nodes, and that they're the 9 watt DOS is a texture, and so it's I brought that kind of back a little bit. Anyways, and then let's see. Oh yeah, this is another really interesting one where the every time I moved around in the world, the whole ground would shake. And it's like one of those bugs that you really wish you could add into the game somehow, but or add in some sort of like troll, a big huge effect, like that. But anyways, and then you can see. Yeah, some of these trees and these are actually all bunched up on this there. Anyway, so here's this is an idea. So we had this is kind of that's kind of the main focus. So let's see if I can catch up to here. So yeah, so Discord's pretty cool. We just post a bunch of things. Something most of the game development. Some rants about Unity. Yeah. So, anyways, let's talk about a little bit of that, and we'll talk about where that node system is going and where that's coming in. So, we're still on the point 10 of the live branch. It seems, the original RPG was kind of fun in what it can do, and I still have a screenshot of that in this. Where you can chop down the trees, the world can expand, stuff like that. A lot of people probably didn't know that sort of thing, but it'd be nice to get back to that sort of idea. Hopefully. Anyways, and so let's see. We've got the beta branch. The beta branch. Oh yeah. There is a. It's like 0.18 on the beta branch or something like that. You can go into the Steam and download the beta. This kind of that's what needs. Well, both of them really seriously need to be updated. But anyways, and then we're working on the alpha branch, which is kind of version 20-ish, 1920-ish, right in there. I mean, it's kind of where we're at. It's called version 5, I think, and it's going to be called version 6. Anyway, so I started log 26 on the 7th of October, and it's now the 9th. So hey, it's not a Monday, but it's a Thursday, I believe. But I was intending to put a video out on the Monday, but I was like, Anyway, so we just started this on this Thursday, I believe, early morning. We're kind of on a midnight, like 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. And someone, I was like, oh yeah, I was telling at 12 p.m. I guess. And someone's like, they're like, noon? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bed at noon. Anyway, so it's on Steam. It's still $9.99. Seems kind of expensive nowadays, but it's hopefully going to be a lot more. It's kind of going to be a mid-range game. I think versus I definitely would like to make smaller games going forward. Anyway, so we talked about some announcements. We'll get into some more of that. Some YouTube status. I know I haven't. We'll get into some more announcements. Sort of a tentative idea what's like with the topics down here. Anyway, so the YouTube status. I know I kind of promised. I have like 6 or 8 programming videos, and I've made probably 20 gaming videos. Just little tidbit games. Been playing a little bit of Undermine for a while there and making some videos about it. Because Undermine feels like kind of like, it's a really, sorry for bumping my mic there. It feels like this sort of 2D game that I envision, but then it's kind of doesn't have that same, like you can't do anything in the town, and that's kind of where I'm kind of developing a little bit of focus there. Anyway, so and I also had a whole series of item systems and and then I did a whole Minecraft series and recorded a 2.5-hour video of Minecraft. And yeah, so anyway, so hopefully, it's just been kind of a rough kind of couple months. Just a lot's been going on personally in my life, and computer's been, video card. I had a video card crash on me, and it's like, and just like it wouldn't boot up into video. And then it's like, so I went and bought a new video card, and then the next day it was like, oh, I can boot up just fine. So without my computer, it's pretty much I'm screwed. So it's kind of a pretty expensive, thing to keep running. Anyway, so hopefully, I've got but now the video's kind of running pretty poor. Anyway, so let's see. So we're going to talk about new development process. We're going to talk about the game engine 6, and we're going to talk about the dungeon. I think, yeah. So here's this is kind of, I guess it's a little backwards. Yeah, so anyway, so this kind of game development, it's sort of game development engine 6 is probably, what we're planning to do is we sort of had this idea in November, we're going to do some Lua work. Basically we wanted the game to run on mods, and built the entire game on mod. We kind of want to build the game engine that runs basically the entire game, which is kind of, I think, where it's taken a little bit longer to develop this instead of just building a game, because I actually really want a game engine, something I can really work with in multiple projects and multiple concepts, and really take the project, to the next level. And we talked about many times about, version 2.0 of Hamlet and version 3, and talking about adding in kingdoms, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, in royalty and guards, and we have tons of ideas, but we need something that's going to be solid to sit on, and that's also including Lua as well, that we think like, if I put out just a basic game, and then I put in like all the items are basically XML or JSON or Lua. Lua would be all the I don't think Lua. I mean, Lua could probably handle all of the item types, but we're going to read them all in as JSON or XML, and then we're going to send all the functions to Lua. So you should be able to. I've been talking a little bit with my friends, but programming buddies, you should be able to just boot up the XML, which is going to be open on the. There's going to be a. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but there's you're just going to be able to sort of the idea is that you're going to just be able to open up the XML file or JSON file for wheat and say, well, wheat is now sells for 500 gold, and then just turn your turn to gold making wheat empire, and hopefully the game will respond to that a little bit as well, and then that will start doing so. And then they'll and then but anyway, so it's kind of the whole idea is that I'm just going to build the engine, and then build everything through Lua and mods, and then I really want this to be moddable, that people can add in their own items, build their own gameplay, and then too I can start adding in. I'm not sure about graphics and it's how crazy I'm gonna get. I just kind of the idea is to get all this in place. And then we'll see, and then I definitely need to figure more about mods and Steam workshops and stuff like that. So that's all going to be try to support it at some point. So that might push out the project to another year or two. We'll have to rethink on December. I guess I didn't include a December update, but we'll have to talk about that as well. And then so we have an Hamlet update plan. And then for version 20 onto Steam. So that's the idea. Let's see. Yeah, so we talked about this graphics update. We're going to talk about graphics update 2.0. We'll go through the rest of the equipment here, some more. Yeah, so at that, so it's like, let's see, so the focus right now and why things seem like they're really delayed and it's taken me a couple months is, now also working on other tutorials to try to learn different concepts, which you always kind of have to do in programming. But part of the problem for me is like, I haven't been putting a lot of focus, like forcing myself to work on Hamlet, and I think that's kind of a good thing for my productivity, but it's a bad thing for Hamlet. But I'm also sort of getting this idea as well, and it's sort of a Unity sort of centric idea, where here I think we actually do have Unity booted up for this other project. But over here you can see this is actually version. I believe it's version 5 of it's the Haven Game Engine version 5. It's in the 2019.3. So it definitely was more excited about 2019.3, but then it was like some of the UI scaling is pretty bad. I was just noticing it's a brighter background as well in this version which is even worse because the Pro version is the only way. Anyway, so if you go on the left, you can sort of see it's kind of hard to sort of break this down because there's a lot of information here, but it's basically so you can see that there's some stuff like TextMesh Pro is a Unity thing. There's plugins. You can see Moonsharp is the Lua interpreter we're using, and then you've got streaming assets. That's actually where all the Lua sits right now. So we have jobs, and there's a lot of Lua, beginning of Lua work. I started a lot of with Quill's base building project, and sort of taking that and then kind of expanding it from there and learning. Anyway, so and then this is kind of how we were building it before in certain sense, but then so we have this Haven Game Geo, which includes CodeMonkey's files here, and then it has the logos and stuff like that. Our icons and stuff. Oh, this is the logo I really need to fix. Anyways, but the idea is basically now that this Haven Game Geo, which is the menu system, is kind of the core building concept of the game. So it loads in the game, as in the what type of game type it is, how to hopefully how to save the game, and and then also there'll be some debug information here. It'll also probably include the console as well. Which is kind of a new concept we've been working on, that we want to include the console over into this version, kind of like the Minecraft console. We spent quite a bit of work on like our 5th or 6th tutorial on Minecraft, and kind of a lot of really cool concepts came out of that someone was like, the tutorial, it was B3AGZ, yeah. So, um, anyway, so he's maybe I'll include a link or something. I probably won't. I should, but anyway, so yeah. So then he you know and then it built this, and then sort of he was like, oh hey, I'm gonna build a console, and it was like did a couple lines of code, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I went and spent 3 or 4 days working on this entire console system, and it's really cool. And it kind of fits into a lot of problems I was having about um, characters and interacting with the world and changing things, and also too it's like instead of opening up an options menu, which is fine I guess too as well, but you can also open up a console command and just say type in debug console true, and it sets it into a debug menu idea. Anyway, so the idea here is that it's this is the game engine, but it's also these you can see like here's items as well. There's the scriptable objects and the JSON items are two separate packages, but they're all part of this Haven items. And then here's the whole Lua system here, which just runs a Lua test environment, and then just runs out all the do actions, and then it does all the it basically has everything that hopefully runs Lua. I think there is like it does need like if you run a character, you're going to need to include the I need to include the people here, which is probably poorly named because that's one of the next. It's such a core concept of my game right now, and it's like in this version, it's not actually built out as much as it should be. Anyways, and then we also got the pathfinding. The iState is kind of, and then we also include like iState. Jungle is kind of a Unity test for the serialized reference. Anyways, you can also see that here's the game, the Haven Dungeon roguelike. So this is the Sharp Accent roguelike. We've pretty much cranked it up to level 10 now. And that's where we're going to show you next. And then we also have this grid map. We want to take this grid map from CodeMonkeys and dump it into the roguelike, so the two will be able to interact with each other and create this grid system that will feed into this dungeon system, which will feed into the node system. And I think all that will now work very effectively because of how we're doing it. Anyway, so we also see our famous free character packs. We were just playing with a little bit of their animations for the AARPG. So there's a Unity Learn project for an action RPG. This is pretty cool. I'm not turning my game into a action RPG, but it's fun to milk and fun to make. And it's also too part of the equipment, the inventory, and all those sort of things are built in this game. And it's like we're sort of taking the concepts of and saying how do these all fit together. And it's actually coming along, and we sort of took the CodeMonkey inventory. I think we yeah, I thought we had a CodeMonkey inventory here. Did I not? I thought I did. I thought we had a promo for that. Yeah. Anyway, so where did I put that somewhere else? I guess all these are public. So, anyways, there should be a yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know what happened to it, but oh yeah, this is a really cool movement system here where it's like you get this little character. He's like bouncing between these nodes, and that looks really awesome. Anyways, yeah, so we just random links. Oh yeah, I love Tool's new. Oh yeah, yeah. So there was another promo here I've somehow lost, but you can also see here's a kind of sort of a combat thing, and we just post a lot of here's some of the new characters. This is also from CodeMonkeys, but so we sort of talked about the different stats and ideas, and we may include that as some. We're definitely include stats, but I'm not sure whether we'll include the character sheets in that respect. We also someone was talking about this idea of a dual linked action bar or something. Uh, yeah, I don't remember. There was a lot whole like how to make it, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so it's just kind of, yeah. I think it's just the idea that when you're going left, it's increasing, and when you're going right, it's increasing that way. And so there's a little bit of glitch right here that shouldn't be there, but yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. See, the one on top is actually much better. Is where it's supposed to do. Uh, and the slider bar is just so you can change it, not showcase it. Anyways, and then let's see. Yeah, see, there we go. There we fixed the overlay. Anyway, and then this is kind of this is our new. We didn't talk about this, but this is our graphic. We were talking about the graphics upgrade, but here's the concept of that we have a fish in the hand, and then now we can collect fish and baskets. It doesn't actually increase the. I talked a little bit about hoping that I could make 2 fish, 3 fish, 4 fish in here, be representative of how many fish you're holding, but it's sort of not the case. Um, but the characters can now. This is just the default character, but he can hold a fish in his hand. He can pick up a backpack and then collect fish into the backpack as well. So it's all upgrades and things you can do to your character. We talked about that. Yeah. So I don't know what happened to There's a new merchant in the game. It's called the King's Merchant. So I guess we could actually just show here. Let me. This has been focus on that. Let me just showcase. You shouldn't break, honest. My videos are getting longer and longer. It is called. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. So, this should. Yeah, there we go. This should work. I'm confident. Anyway, it's kind of a new sort of version of the UI. It needs a lot of work here. Excuse me. It needs a lot of work, but it's kind of this idea. I've sort of built this a little bit. The King's Merchant is just an idea that at the start of the game you'll be able to, whatever money you have, which will be like 1,000 gold or whatever, depending on your character selection, you'll just be able to go up to the King's Merchant and you'll be able to buy whatever you want. And the idea that you sort of kickstart your economy, and it'll only be around for a little while. So it's like you want to say, oh hey, I want to do some lumbering, right? So you'll just go and buy an axe. Uh, and buy an axe and a bag, and stuff like that, and maybe like an axe and a bag and an iron ingot or something to maybe upgrade it to an iron axe eventually, and then then you'll be out of money. He'll leave within a short time period, and then so then. But then you're like, oh no, I really want a sword and shield combat system because I want to, I want to die real quick. In this game, I'm going to buy the sword, shield, and I think there's a chest. Anyway, so you'll be able to buy. Here's a chest. I'm just going to probably be organized better. This is sort of just trying to test out the scroll, kind of the idea. And I believe you can actually, just. It doesn't transfer money. There's actually there's also a bug as well. For some reason, when you right click, it's sort of like, oh, okay, I'm trying to buy, and then the same thing is here. Is you can actually say if you right click on this, he's buying it from the player, but the player has nothing to buy. So, anyways, and then there's not a gold transfer concept because Code Monkey didn't do that. But eventually, I'll add that back into the. There's actually a different trade system that I actually do have that sort of uses the same items. That it's more of a you like buy, like that's a more like a if you want to buy herbs or something, so you click on the herb, and then over here it says how many herbs you want to buy, and then you say I want to buy 50. And then you say, okay, it's going to cost you 500 gold, and click on that. And you can also, I think this is cool as well, you can actually close these down. It doesn't actually, what should happen at this point is it should make this disappear and then jump this up. I've had that working in the past, but it's pretty complicated. So, and then you also, I believe this button on the bottom right, you should be able to size this. So that's kind of the idea here, is that you can click this and resize this. But yeah, and then once you close them down, I don't think there's any way to open up the inventory anymore. It's just kind of a demo project. But you can sort of see it's, the improvements. I guess we'll talk about some of the improvements here. We've always had the ability to close windows down. We've actually, in the cruiser rail ones, we could actually, this is kind of the same concept here, is that you can click on the title bar and drag these around as well. Part of the problem there is like you have to really, once you start customizing where your UI is, you really have to start controlling how the UI fits, how it snaps back on the screen, a lot of stuff like that. Hey, shh, come on. Yeah, sorry, she gets a little excited. Anyway, so that's pretty awesome. Let's get into the, oh yeah, and this also, sorry, I get so distracted. So this is kind of, this video is talking about, oh hey, I've got this really awesome chair, and bam, it falls down. I'm like, oh no, I gotta rebuild it. There we go, much better. Hey, don't fall, I fall through. Oh, okay. Nice, so he rebuilds the chair. Much better. Not gonna fall. Yes! Oh man, so he redoes it. Here's me, perfect. And then, yeah. It's the problem with programming. Anyways, so moving on. So yeah, so this is kind of really nice to have this. Basically, the core concept here is we have this Unity package of items. I probably won't sell this, but anyway, so and then it just there's a like item common as well. So we have item interfaces, which is actually pretty cool. Which is actually, this is all code, sort of code. I say Code Monkey, but this is kind of like the version 5 of this package. But it has this idea that you have these items, and they have all these types. There's just the rarity, so you can. We talked about you buying a wood axe and then upgrade it to an iron. But there's wood, stone, gold. It's kind of like Minecraft in some sense of the word. There's a rarity type, but then the item is simply an interface, and then this interface just says, hey, what's the name of the item? This is the unique ID in some respects. How much does it weigh? And the instance ID is sort of how to keep track of it. And then the tool rarity is that as the item rarity, which should be this is item rarity. It was called tool rarity, but then I realized that it's just item rarity. And then the equipment is sort of the idea that's an item, but it has equip and unequip. That's pretty much it. And then the scriptable objects and the adjacent files actually use the same thing. Here's sort of the item types. These are equipment slots, stuff like that. So as well, but then there's also just a whole ton of items here. You can see there's potions and it's basically essentially what this is all the items we have in the game right now. For icons from this icon pack. I really like the pack. This one right here with the herbs and stuff. It was just like a medical herb, which is kind of like you collect grass and stuff like that in the game already. So anyways, and then so there's a Unity package, and then you just sort of Hamlet will be basically the game engine, the item package, the Lua package, dungeon package or node package and stuff like that, which is kind of what we want to talk about now is the dungeon. Sure, I'll save that. I have no idea if I need to. Anyway, so it's kind of the idea of this update plan is that we'll have this we're going to rebuild a new sort of release schedule, a release package for Hamlet, and then we're going to start including packages. We've done this before. Unity, it should be the really awesome way to use Unity, but it just doesn't work like that. I mean, Unity's kind of been around a long time, but they really need to sort of get their, fix all these things. And I mean, I guess mine's, anyway, so then we talked about this graphic update, I think next. So let's get right into that. So this is the sort of, we showed, I believe over here we showed last week we showed this concept of the same sort of core concept that you can see. Here's the tiles on the ground, and then there's wall tiles as well. And that's sort of like we've been focusing around our core concept of this sort of like Minecraft, but with nodes, but they're smaller. And this is kind of I know this is kind of like, it looks like a strategic map, or it's just sort of the idea. Basically, these are, this is a dungeon generated through a certain type of dungeon. And the grass is actually looking straight down, so the grass is sort of on we haven't actually got that yet into the game again, where we need this sort of different levels of areas. So like when you're in the dungeon, you're not seeing the grass and stuff, but the grass is still there, so that's kind of why. Anyway, so then we have this sort of same idea. It's sort of the same concept though, which I call this the roguelite enhanced edition. But yeah. So we've I kind of like the idea of the dungeon. I think does this. It probably should actually be two separate layers. These should be there should be a break right here, and this wall should be right here. And see, we have that ability now, whereas before we didn't have that ability to add in. Like this actually used to run. Um, this like this is pretty insane to actually think about here. And you can actually yeah, I just added this. It's sort of buggy, but oh, here I want to talk about the orthograph. I want to switch this over to orthograph just to show that the fact that it would actually be interesting like this as well. But yeah, so and then there we go. So that's now we're in a complete roguelike environment. And I think that's really cool. And then I think you can. You can't zoom in and out anymore. But I mean, you'll be able to once you switch into this type of camera, you will be able to zoom in, and also the graphics as well. This is kind of a post-processing stack now that I've added to the game. It needs a ton of work, but it's but it's I think it's starting to get there. Anyway, so this is kind of the roguelike. This is kind of how he built, I think, it originally, but he sort of removed all the excess nodes. But in my game, we really need to know every single node and where it is and what it's doing. So, and this is kind of what this concept is. Wow, this is yeah. I definitely need to. And it's just that's how fast it is now. It's like woohoo! I need to start adding sensitivity again. I know people. Sure, I shouldn't spend. Probably not so good on YouTube, but let me kind of get to a little. I guess bottom left. It's definitely one of the things I don't like about the roguelike system, is that it sort of generates this world, and at these coordinates, but then it doesn't really have a concept of we're burning all this space like beyond here is all this excess space up here, and it doesn't realize, oh hey, I don't need all that space, so why not trim it all down. Anyway, so I'm going to explain kind of what's going on. So we have this outside edge, which will always be a wall, so it encases it in a wall. And then we have these, from this tile right here, all the way up to the top tile, the same thing, -1 up to here. It builds this sort of dungeon using Delaney and all sorts of crazy concepts, which is kind of I was like, I have this complete dungeon system that, generates pretty interesting, I think interesting dungeon, little tiny rooms and, bigger rooms, and sort of connects up with hallways and stuff like that. Well, this, to me, it's not as great. I believe you can also, let's see, if I turn off that. Oh, and also I think I have to turn off the camera. I thought there was I thought there was a camera. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, oh, it must be Anyway, so yeah. So then so yeah. It builds a it sort of builds this dungeon, and then it also yeah. So the black here is sort of signifying that this is a wall locked area. It's just sort of I need to say what is what, and so it's just saying, hey, if you're surrounded by walls, you're landlocked. So just turn off your renders and just display a black texture instead. So it's more of a helpful concept for me than an actual useful concept. It doesn't actually mean like oh, there's nothing in there. It's just saying, hey, right now it's not displayed. So, and then we'll start. We're talking about adding in fog and removing rooms and stuff like that. But we have some different concepts of how to do that now. So yeah. But yeah. So you'll see this is quite a bit faster. Oops. Oh, here no. It's quite a bit faster can I turn off this before I boot you up? And will that change? Yeah, so I know a lot of, for me, I'm not a big fan of the post-processing stack, but it, once you get some better settings, I think it makes it a little bit dimmer. Um, and then, well, lighting is actually one of the biggest things we actually need to work on at some point as well. But anyway, so you can also now you can look at it sort of does do underneath. Oh yeah, yeah. So here's the concept I was talking about: the fact that I believe if I select a wall, it won't tell me much about the wall, but it's the kind of concept here is that what's actually happening is the fact that we're actually trying to get some depth into the dungeon here. I think I can actually change. Oh yeah, under nodes. I believe I can change the wall to be a under graphics, right? 2 and -2. I believe this will render quite a bit different as well. If this would actually work. Live tempo, live testing. New, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. Why is that? Anyway, so it's a much cooler, faster concept. It's a whole lot faster, like amazingly faster. Maybe it just didn't. Yeah, so everything renders faster. The whole world. Yeah, it's not doing what I want it to do. Oh, yeah, maybe. But yeah, so and then hopefully the next plan over the next couple weeks is to take this into the yeah, see, that's what I wanted to do. Take this into the overworld, like redos the entire world. Kind of, it's similar to a Minecraft system, but it's completely different. Oh, you know what? I think the problem being now is if I tell the layers that you're a different layer, that yes, I believe that is the. Yeah, there we go. So that's now we get this new sort of different playstyle where it's like you have the same sort of concept here, and this is kind of the idea that I'd actually like the walls to be at some point is like the walls sort of fade away and you sort of get just this room concept, and then based on the distance and the calculations of this the sight range, you'll be able to hide and show things. But also I like this as well because it feels like I'm getting some. I feel like I'm in a physical dungeon now instead of actually like a flat plane here. Yes, it just feels a lot better. Like I'm actually in a physical dungeon space instead of a. And I believe you can still. Oh no, here you. Yeah, so we can still do this, and then go into a perspective. Well, which is pretty much perspective now. And yeah, oh yeah, see now we're in perspective, but we can actually zoom in and out. So this zoom is based on my zoom preferences. Yeah, so and then yeah, so I think that's a whole lot better. Oh, it's T. A lot of this will change, but I think that's a whole lot better in terms of graphics, how fast it is, how much more information we have that we can display. It's +2. Let's see, what are our stats right now? See, we're running 10 verts and 4K triangles, and running. I think it's hopefully it's locked to the VSync because I don't want to run my monitor or graphics card, monitor, everything. But if you also notice too that like in here, it takes about a second or two to boot this entire. I think a lot of the dungeon is pre-generated, which is sort of like it should be the same. or is it? No, I believe it's a different dungeon every time. Um, we need to get a seed in there. I think there is a seed, but it's using I believe it might be using a different type of seed. Yeah, so it's generating a new dungeon every time. So I mean that's just it. It's like it's just that quick. So at some point, we should be able to generate dungeons as well, just really quickly. Let's check our time real quick. Oh yeah, we're almost at an hour. So anyway, so let's back up and see where just kind of quickly go over the rest of what we're talking about here, because that's pretty much the core concept here. So the top. So we talked about the status. We talked about Steam, where that's at. We talked about the Discord. YouTube probably will try to put out some videos depending on what we're going to do. That's sort of for November. There's a big, huge announcement. We've been talking about it a lot. That in December, I'm taking December off to work on other projects. I probably will work on this somewhat. I'm not sure. It's usually, it's my 90% of my time is going to be focused on spiritual sort of ideas and concepts. And I think that will really help out sort of take a break from game development and try to focus on fun things and stuff like that. And also too, so that's December. So it should come back January. We should have some some fresh eyes. We'll probably post a video talking about our reflections more, kind of like this video, and then we'll sort of start. Also, we'll be thinking a lot about how we want to get this game out there, and because we talked a little bit about stopping. I don't think we're not stopping game development. I mean that's kind of a like programming for sure. We'd never stop programming. It's just something we love doing. It's something we do for fun, and every time I play a game, I just get so frustrated by the games that I'm like, I'm never going to stop game development anyway. But in 2020, there's a ton of house projects I really have been putting off, and I just need to get them done. So I'm going to start working on a little more of my house, working on more of myself, trying to because right now I code pretty much 16 hours a day, and it's kind of like somewhat December. Anyway, so we'll have hopefully some YouTube videos coming up, different concepts. I always kind of thought about like YouTube as just kind of a way to promote the channel, but also to build a sort of secondary income, means. But it's like it's not really. I don't know. We'll have to see if it takes off, but it's fun to share. And like even if I don't put the video, I still get the kind of concepts of getting stuff together. Anyways, so then we talked about our new development process. Basically, we're taking Unity packages, packaging up Lua, menus, items, and different, and then that will be including in the new. It's game engine number 6, but it's more like Hamlet version number 6 is what is the intention here. Let's see if I can fix that slide. So I meant to say this is the Hamlet game version 6. I believe is the concept here. And Shift F5. That's a 5. Anyway, so that's the Hamlet game version 6 is going to say is going to be that's what we're talking about here is releasing a new Hamlet package. Hamlet. And speaking of which, anyway, so that's a new Hamlet game package, which will include. Hopefully, will be less package weight, and then will be more core concepts of, including those packages. And then I can go out and instead of updating, the menu in the game in there, I can go to the core, and that's sort of at the 2019.3 is my sort of cutting edge package area where I can start developing, and then hopefully I can start. You also saw the Alias mod, which is a whole kind of an entire 2D RPG series, tutorial series I went through, and that's what that is as well. And then the ARPG I'm working on kind of right now is sort of taking the Unity Learn package, and it's like sort of packaging all those things into this package or this folder, and then use the packages in there and sort of update and improve items and stuff, improve the various packages through there, and then deploy out those 5 or 6 packages into the Hamlet version 20 package, and then push that update to Steve. So I'm sure that's how a lot of people do it, but it's just kind of took me a roundabout way to get to this point. Like before, like in version 4, version 3, 4, and 5, I believe, were just the entire development stack just dumped into the package, and it just became unwieldy to handle. It included a lot of cool stuff, but then it didn't, it was just became unmanageable to manage. And I'm hoping, to get past this hurdle of the project is getting so massive, how to core it down. Anyway, so we have Lua done. We'll probably work a little bit more on Lua. So then we've talked about the Hamlet update plan for version 20 on Steam. This is the original design. We kind of want to really keep this here because this is kind of the core concept of that you're a character on a node. You can enter a house, you can chop down a tree, you can pick up items. It felt really cool and worked, and we want to get back to that. Versus the graphics update we saw, this is the original graphics update. Using terrain and all these, it's really slow, cumbersome, takes a long time, which you kind of still need, but it doesn't actually do what we want. So we'll probably borrow those buildings, rip everything apart, rebuild them into our nodes and items, and try to, and hopefully we'll get some sloping terrains and a lot of cool stuff like that. But that's part of the 2.0, 2.5 update, which will include hopefully some terrain height. But now that we have the processing power and the unlimited nodes, which I did mention, this is a completely separate pack idea. Discord. I guess I closed Discord down. This is a completely separate idea right here that essentially, it's like even at a core. Like I was thinking about this, even at a core, like 255 times 255 is 65,000 nodes times 255 is it's like 16 million, by the way. Spoiler alert, is 16 million nodes in just a world that has 255 nodes. So Minecraft is really insane in the fact of how big it can be. But for us, we were having trouble with just 70,000 nodes. So this is kind of a core concept of the fact that it's talking about first FPS, which is frames per second. We're talking about naves. I give ye the NPS, which is nodes per second. So that's what this average here is talking about, is meters, and then it says, hey, we're doing 35 nodes a tick. This is per tick, by the way. Is hopefully what this is saying. So the game is running, and this is kind of representing the character ticks, or this is a fixed tick, which is like running every 0.25 or every 0.55 seconds. And this is kind of the core gameplay concept here, is that the character is running at a fixed tick every time they tick over, which is like something I didn't even think about, that Moria, I did a whole series, 3 or 4 videos on roguelikes, and I didn't even think about that they're just turn-based games. It just never really concept into me the fact that it's just, a turn or tick. And I've sort of relegated this to a tick because it makes more sense to me, like just a pulse of a game that's, every so often. But what needs to happen when that game is running is that in the background, there's nodes, all 70,000 of them, need to be updated. And that's what this is sort of indicating here, is that we're updating 70,000 nodes, and we're doing about 35 a tick, so every 35. So that's probably pretty bad in terms of what we're looking at, because we also, but that's only what this main thread and the secondary enumerator thread are running. And then we also have threading on top of that, and then maybe more threads for, like we might have a thread for the, we actually talked about this idea now of, instead of a chunk, getting back to this idea of this is what's around the character. And those, I believe it's 16 is our sweet spot number here. 16 by 16 is only 256 nodes, and then we do like a 5-tile difference. So it's 1,300 nodes around the character. That's what the view distance of the character. And we might actually fudge that. We're talking about fudging that with what the character can't see behind them. But that's like what's actively running right now. Every second of the game, is running. It's sort of this. It's still sort of running in this, like the monster is not going to move um, while the character doesn't move. But in the background, the monster is thinking about his family. He's thinking about how to support his family. He's thinking about how to if he should run away from this hardy adventure that's going to end his poor life. And anyway, so then those 1,300 nodes can be ticking on a separate sort of thread here as well. So the whole world, which is 70,000 in this concept, which is actually, I believe it's some kind of number of like 70,000, the square root of that. Can I say the square root of that number? Yeah, so it's 16 basically. It's 16 times, oops, no, come on, times 16. And I believe times 16 is not, yeah, some combination of that is what is actually being determined here. I can't, times 16, that's some, is it times 16? Yeah, so it's about, it's basically x by, z by y by some, crazy number. It's basically some kind of number, yeah. Anyway, so that's so this is kind of talking about the fact that it's trying to update. And it's sort of like update is sort of like the sort of what's happening in the world around you, even though you're not there. That's the concept that I'm trying to accomplish here. Is that the whole world is doing something in the background while you're. That's sort of like the same concept with Minecraft. The whole world is. I mean, it's not exactly what Minecraft is doing. Hopefully at some point they're running this huge background, but for me it's like going to be one of the primary forces that every character, every room, all the nodes, all the monsters, all the animals, everything's going to be running on these separate idea threads that's going to be updating them as they go through, and then the world will be changing around you. So there's like and then too, while you're in that world, it will be, you'll see what's happening in that world is the concept, but in the background it will still be running. Once every 5 minutes, they'll have a complete, whether or not how we get. I think one of the concepts too is like after 5 minutes, well, how many ticks have gone by in the game, and what do we need to do then? So that's kind of another core concept. But anyway, so that's how we're going to do some the Hamlet update log. So hopefully we'll get that updated to the new version, probably somewhere 19 or 20 on Steam. We just could basically go back and say, what did we last talk about? Okay, and where we're at. Anyway, so that this is kind of a whole new. So let's just we'll quickly just kind of a lot of these are the kind of core concepts. We're still talking about all these concepts in the game. Various ideas. These are all going to be like items, game objects. I'm not sure what they're all sort of interactables in the games that are going to be models in the game basically. But then they'll all be doing stuff. And then we talked about this 2.0 version. We haven't really put a lot of time into this. This is all tied into the people, I guess, right now. I guess is it's kind of the overworld, but the main. One of the main focus of the overworld is that sort of people concept, which will probably include throughout the dungeon and all sorts of ideas. Anyway, so we talked about the dungeon, the rune concepts, much better improved. It was hard to. Oh, actually I could show that. Yeah, I could actually show that right here. If I go into pause and I say I want to show. The layers, and I say no, I want the, and then I can say, oh, my bad, oh, did that not, there's an information layer, basically, is what I'm trying to showcase here, but there is that not available in Prospective? There's a whole layer of information. Oh, it's actually in Perspective. There's a whole layer of information here that's some reason not showing, but that's kind of like what that you were seeing in that previous concept. is that we had this this whole information layer that some reason I'm not seeing. Oh, it might not because of. Anyways, there's a whole information layer that's there. That's for some reason not showing right now. Why are you not running? Yeah, so you didn't run any rooms. Anyway, so that's kind of what this is showing. Is basically I've cleaned it up, made it a lot better, improved it, fixed quite a few bugs with this. This was right. This one concept for this was finding rooms. Like you could see, this really should be in the bottom left of this room, and it needs to say this is a 4x4 room. And this was at the bottom left, and this is a 3x4. Size-wise, and then from there it'll decide what it wants to do with the room. So, it didn't hit F5. So that's the information layer. That's coming along pretty awesome. Hopefully we'll clean up. That's also part of like the mini map and sort of tons of ideas. Sort of add in concepts of what you're looking like around the world. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for doing the update. I probably will post a December concept video talking about basically what work we did for November, and then sort of because hopefully the rest of this month will be pretty awesome, including that graphics package. Basically, I want to one of the some of the core concepts is taking that dungeon concept and feeding it into the world, and then maybe even feeding the dungeon. Feeding the dungeon system into the world system and just combining the two, because right now they're two separate concepts, and I'm like, at this point I'm like, why do I need to worry about that? Because if the dungeon package will go to the grid system and say, here's all the nodes that I've created for you, build them, and the overworld system will say, here's all the nodes and the buildings and everything I built into the grid system, and then they'll combine together, and then you'll see just like, this is where I am in the world, and all that will run, and it should run really, really fast, and that will allow me to do really cool things that was fun, but it was just not working as I really wanted to, and now it should actually be a lot easier. Instead of I can get away from chunks and I can just go into active view distance, which I'm hoping. So that would be really cool, because then I can add in tons of stuff and not have to worry about where it is or what it's doing. There's still that concept of, where you're at. Your spatial awareness is kind of a big problem in this game. I've noticed is you're at just playing Rustic Waters, and I died in the game and my entire base reset. I'm like, that's strange. But it's like you don't really have that spatial awareness of that you're in a 10,000 by 10,000 by 10,000 versus 000, and it's like, so it feels like it created a whole new base for you, but and Rustic Waters I should say, but it feels like it deleted it, and the problem is because you don't realize that it moved you really far away. And it's like, well, it didn't delete it. I'm like, well, how do you get back to your base? It's like, anyway, so that's hopefully going to be something we can address. We've come up with several different solutions and ideas, but we just didn't have the CPU now. I'm not saying my dev CPU versus a user CPU, but for me, it's like now I'm fairly confident that a lot of users, will, even at lower end machines, will be able to run, and hopefully there's probably some glitches, some things I'm not thinking about, and concepts, but it's really coming together of I can do what I want with the world and then display it in a super fast way. And you also saw that through the batching. I didn't talk about that, but I was kind of getting into the Minecraft video a little bit. Oh, now we're talking about batching. So over here, you can look at that. We're batching save by batching. So we're saving 1900 by batching. So that's also to these black things. They're batching. They're sort of hopefully limiting themselves from the view as well. They're just displaying what's under the top. I don't think they're even displaying what's under the bottom, but they should at some point. But yes, I mean it's just insane how cool and fast this is, and I'm hoping at this point now I can do the page up and page down, and now you can just go like like go through. I want to go to the top, and it's sort of so I should point that out. And I already have a video. A lot of this is just like this is what I'm looking at as a developer. You're seeing this is what the development of the world looks like, and you'll be able to see all the mobs, all the characters, all the items, all the treasure chests, all the secrets eventually, and all the cat mewing. But eventually, all that will just be down to the view distance, which will hopefully cut this down to because right now like it's hard to say exactly, but sort of the idea that your character will be right here. Right here is sort of this idea. So that's what I was talking about. The view distance doesn't need to be from here back, because it needs to be like 2 or 3 back all the way up to this is in this case it's only it's based on the angle as well. So if like you're a little bit like more like here, yeah. So here's 1, 2, 3. Or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But that's 10, 20 by 20 is what the 20 or 20. No, I say 22, 20 to 25 around the character, centered on this. Is actually going to be centered, I think, right here. That we're going to be 10 in all directions, and that's what's actually going to load. And it probably will load this node first, and then load all the nodes around you. So that's hopefully the concept. But anyways, that's that. So that's what will be around. And then too, because this right here is a wall, it should say, hey, you can't see this unless you're in some kind of yeah. And then you'll have so you'll have an NPC here eventually, and hopefully an NPC here. And then you'll be able to see what those NPCs see as well. So there's going to be a concept of the fact that the more control you have, the more you can see. Anyway, so that's going to be pretty awesome, and now we have the power for that. So I think that's a great hour and 15 minutes. So hopefully, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a little bit more to talk about. I guess is one of the problems with these longer ones. But yeah, so hopefully, I think it will be pretty awesome. I can't wait to see kind of what I can do with that kind of increased technology and ideas and concepts. And it's like I finally get all the. It's kind of a big struggle. I've spent a lot of time. That's kind of why this game has taken a long time, because it's like I'm trying to struggle to put out 70,000 nodes. And I'm like, that shouldn't be that hard for a computer, but so now it's like I finally have that option now where it's like, oh hey, it's not perfect. We'll have to see, especially with the height system, whether or not we can get. Because right now these are all based on all based on one sort of height model, like is the 0th height model right here. You can see that sort of in this concept right here. It's like even though these are walls, it's sort of putting this at 0 and then putting the wall at 0, and it doesn't. It's like one continuous height is basically what I'm saying. So the next goal would be like I was talking about. Well, okay, yeah. So it's just a display issue right now, but like right now it's like have this wall here, and then also have the sub walls be the two below. So then includes this wall, the sub walls, this wall, and then even includes some sort of if you go up high enough, you can actually see the. It's kind of a hard concept for me to think about in terms of these roguelikes. Is there's no concept of layers in roguelikes. They're sort of just like all separate, completely separate worlds. Separate slices of the world in the Y zone, and it has no concept of the fact that you're on top of this. There's something up above you. I mean, there's a town concept up there, but. And that's this sort of the thing too. Is like if the town is say sitting right here in this zone, and all this is mined out, the town should start sinking. That's sort of some of the ideas as well. Is that eventually they'll be the whole world will be affected up and down as well. It's kind of a difficult, like, how do you start deciding where to build the town? Is like, do you need to know that the town is built on a rock mass, or is it built on sand? So, anyways, hopefully that's will be Hamlet 4.0. Anyways, I guess I'll talk to you later. That's not how you close the game. This is how you close it. Anyways, thanks very much. I'll see everybody next month for the December sort of post-November update, and then we'll take a month off, and then we'll come back fresh in 2020, and then we'll probably put in 3/4 time or something. We'll work on some house projects, but I think we'll have a major plan of attack and have, really core concept of how to finish this project is the goal. Anyways, you take care.